The Mexican sun beat down mercilessly on the archaeological dig site. Dr. Maya Rivera wiped sweat from her brow as she carefully brushed dirt away from what appeared to be a metallic object embedded in the ancient Mayan temple wall. Unlike anything she'd ever encountered in her 15 years as an archaeologist, the device featured intricate symbols that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. "Professor Dawson, you need to see this," she called to her colleague, who was documenting findings several meters away. The older man hurried over, his eyes widening behind thick glasses. "Good Lord, Maya. That's certainly not from this civilization's technology. The metallurgy alone is impossible," Maya finished. "It's unlike any alloy I've ever seen. And these markings, they don't match any known Mesoamerican script." As twilight approached and the rest of the team packed up for the day, Maya convinced Dawson to let her continue working. "Just another hour," she promised. "I want to fully document this before we extract it tomorrow." Once alone, Maya carefully examined the strange disk. Roughly the size of her palm, it pulsed with a faint blue light whenever her fingers traced its elaborate engravings. Curiosity overwhelmed her scientific caution. She pressed what appeared to be a central node. The disk hummed to life, projecting holographic symbols in three-dimensional space. Before Maya could react, the device detached from the wall and attached itself to her wrist like a sentient bracelet. "What the?" she gasped as the world around her distorted. The temple walls blurred, then solidified again, but everything had changed. The half-excavated ruins were now a vibrant, bustling temple complex. People in traditional Mayan attire moved about, completely ignoring her presence. "I've either gone mad or," Maya whispered, staring at the device on her wrist. "Or you've activated a temporal displacement apparatus that you have no right to possess," came a voice behind her. Maya spun around to face a tall, humanoid figure. His skin had a slight bluish tinge, and his eyes, all three of them, regarded her with clear displeasure. He wore what appeared to be some kind of uniform, sleek and made of a material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. "My name is Krell, Temporal Guardian of the Axiom Confederation," he stated flatly. "And you, human, have just stolen one of our most regulated technologies." Maya backed away. "I didn't steal anything. I'm an archaeologist. This was buried in an ancient temple." Krell's expression shifted slightly. "Impossible. This unit was lost during a diplomatic mission to your planet approximately 14 of your days ago." 14 days? Maya shook her head. "This temple has been buried for centuries." Krell moved toward her, hand extended. "The chronometric destabilizer needs to be returned immediately. It's causing temporal anomalies already. Give it to me." Instead of complying, Maya's scientific mind raced with implications. A genuine alien time travel device? The archaeological and scientific value was incalculable. "I need to understand what's happening first," she said, backing away further. "Human, you don't comprehend the danger." Maya's fingers frantically explored the device, pressing another symbol. The world blurred again, and Krell lunged forward, too late. When reality stabilized, Maya found herself alone in the same location, but in yet another time period. Modern cars and tourists milled about what was now a protected heritage site. The device on her wrist pulsed, adjusting to its new temporal coordinates, and Maya realized with equal parts terror and excitement that her life had just become infinitely more complicated. Somewhere in time, an alien guardian was now hunting her. Part 2: Understanding the Power. Maya ducked into a tourist bathroom at the heritage site, breathing heavily as she examined the device on her wrist. It had morphed into what appeared to be a stylish watch to blend with current fashion, some kind of adaptive camouflage technology. The symbols were still accessible when she rotated the bezel. "Think, Rivera," she muttered to herself. "You're an archaeologist with a time travel device and an angry alien after you. An academic's instinct kicked in, analyzed the data. Maya spent the next hour in a quiet corner of the site's cafe, documenting every symbol on the device in her notebook. She discovered patterns. Certain symbols seemed to represent temporal coordinates, while others modified jump parameters. A news broadcast on the cafe's television caught her attention. A strange blue meteor had crashed near Teotihuacan 2 days ago. The reporter mentioned unusual radiation readings and government officials securing the area. Krell's ship, Maya whispered. If the temporal guardian had arrived 2 days ago, she might have some breathing room to understand the device before he found her again. With renewed determination, Maya experimented with small jumps, hours forward and backward, staying within the archaeological site to maintain geographical consistency. Each jump became more controlled as she deciphered the device's logic. During one jump to 1962, she encountered a Harvard research team. By posing as a visiting professor, she gained access to their archaeological journals, confirming something remarkable. The temple wall where she'd found the device showed no signs of the artifact in previous expeditions. It had literally appeared in the past after Krell lost it in the present. Temporal paradoxes, Maya realized. The device creates its own origin story. On her 7th jump, Maya found herself in pre-colonial Mexico. The temple stood magnificent at its prime, priests conducting ceremonies at its base. She carefully observed from a distance, recording everything in her notebook when she felt a presence behind her. Impressive adaptability, Krell said, his voice calmer than before. Most species accidentally kill themselves within the first few jumps. Maya whirled around, heart racing. How did you find me? The chronometric destabilizer emits quantum signatures across temporal planes. Finding you was merely a matter of following disruptions in the time stream. He extended his hand again. This experiment has gone far enough. Instead of running, Maya decided on a different approach. Tell me how it works first. A scientific exchange. Isn't that why your people came to Earth in the first place? Diplomatic mission, you said? Krell hesitated, his third eye blinking independently of the others. The Axiom Confederation seeks cultural exchange with promising species. Your civilization is approaching a temporal understanding threshold, dangerous without proper guidance. Then guide me, Maya suggested. I've already figured out basic navigation. What else can it do? Before Krell could answer, the device pulsed urgently. Maya felt a sudden pull, not her doing, and the world blurred around them both. When reality solidified, they stood in a sterile white chamber. A tall, elegant alien female with iridescent skin regarded them with 4 golden eyes. Ambassador Krell, she said, her voice melodic but cold. You violated at least 7 protocols by allowing a primitive to operate a destabilizer. Her gaze fell on Maya. I am High Commander Lyra of the Axiom Enforcement Division. Your unauthorized temporal activities end now. Maya felt the weight of the situation crash down on her. She'd gone from respected archaeologist to temporal fugitive in less than a day, and now faced not one, but 2 advanced aliens who wanted to take away the most significant discovery in human history. The device on her wrist pulsed again, seemingly responding to her panic, and Maya made a split-second decision. Her fingers found the emergency jump protocol she'd identified earlier, and before either alien could stop her, she activated it, launching herself into the unknown depths of time. Maya materialized in a bustling metropolis of impossible architecture, buildings that seemed to defy gravity, vehicles gliding through the air, and holographic advertisements featuring species she couldn't identify. The emergency jump had sent her forward in time, possibly centuries. The device on her wrist dimmed significantly, its power reserves depleted. Maya ducked into an alley, trying to process her surroundings. The air smelled different, artificially purified. Pedestrians paid her little attention. Apparently, her clothing wasn't outlandish enough to warrant suspicion. She needed information and a place to hide while the device recharged. Following signs she intuited were directional markers, Maya located what appeared to be a public information terminal. To her surprise, when she approached, it automatically translated its interface to English. "Welcome to New Singapore, Earth Year 2187, it displayed. "How may I assist you, visitor?" Maya had jumped over 150 years forward. She quickly searched for historical information about her own time period, discovering humanity had indeed made contact with several alien civilizations, including the Axiom Confederation, in 2031, just 7 years after her original time. The temporal accords, she read, established following the Rivera-Krell incident of 2029. Maya stared in disbelief at her own name in the historical record. Whatever was about to happen between her and Krell would apparently become significant enough to name diplomatic treaties after them. The Rivera-Krell incident created a fundamental shift in human axiom relations, a voice said behind her. Though few know what actually happened. Maya turned to find Krell standing there, now dressed in civilian clothing that helped him blend with the futuristic environment. "How do you keep finding me?" she demanded. "I told you. Quantum signatures. Though I'm impressed by the temporal distance of your jump." He gestured to the information terminal. "Interesting reading, isn't it? Our future appears to be intertwined. So you don't know what this incident is either?" Maya asked. "Time travel paradox. We're living events that will create the history we're reading about." Krell approached slowly. "But there's something more urgent. Commander Lyra isn't simply following protocols, she believes humans shouldn't have access to temporal technology under any circumstances." "And you disagree?" "The Confederation's founding principle is guided evolution of younger species." Krell's third eye focused on the device on Maya's wrist. "I was sent to establish first contact with your scientific community, not to confiscate technology you discovered independently." "But I found your device," Maya pointed out. "A device that wouldn't have been in that temple if you hadn't taken it there after finding it." Krell almost smiled. Temporal logic can be circular. Their conversation was interrupted by screams from the street. People scattered as a shimmering portal opened, and Commander Lyra stepped through with 2 armored guards. "Treason, Ambassador Krell," she announced. "Aiding a primitive in temporal crimes." "Regulatory disagreement," Krell corrected. "The human found the device through legitimate archaeological means." "Irrelevant. The human presents a clear danger to established timelines." Lyra raised a weapon. "Both threats will be neutralized." Maya's device suddenly pulsed back to life, apparently recharged by proximity to the other Axiom technology. She grabbed Krell's arm. "Do you trust me?" After a moment's hesitation, he nodded. Maya activated the device, and they vanished just as Lyra fired. They materialized in a desolate landscape, crumbling buildings overtaken by vegetation, the sky an unnatural orange hue. The device had transported them to what appeared to be Earth, but far in the future. "Where are we?" Maya asked, surveying the ruins. Krell consulted his own equipment. "Approximately 400 years from your original time period." This. He hesitated, was not expected. "What happened here?" "I can't be certain without more data, but these radiation signatures suggest a temporal disaster." Krell examined a partially collapsed wall with strange fracture patterns. "These are quantum fissures, reality itself was damaged here." They cautiously explored the ruins, discovering they were standing in what once was London. In a partially intact library, they found historical records documenting a temporal war that began in 2190, just 3 years after their visit to New Singapore. The Axiom Confederation splintered over policy regarding Earth, Maya read from a preserved digital archive. Commander Lyra's Purification Front believed humanity's access to temporal technology would inevitably lead to catastrophe. While my diplomatic faction advocated for guided integration, Krell added, reading further. The conflict escalated when Lyra attempted to alter Earth's historical development. Maya looked up from the records. She's planning to eliminate humanity's potential for temporal science before we ever develop it. That's why she's hunting us so aggressively. The Rivera-Krell incident isn't just historical footnote, it's the catalyst for humanity's temporal understanding. Krell's expression grew grave. According to these records, Lyra eventually deployed temporal weapons targeting key moments in Earth's scientific development, creating this ruined timeline. Maya gestured at their surroundings. But if this future exists, doesn't that mean she succeeds? Time isn't linear, it's branching possibilities until fully realized. Krell activated his own equipment, projecting a holographic temporal map. This future is still in flux. The primary nexus point appears to be us, Maya finished. Right now. Whatever we do next determines whether this future happens. A distant explosion interrupted them. Through a broken window, they saw another temporal portal forming several blocks away. Lyra, Krell confirmed, checking his scanner. She's tracking us through time methodically. We have minutes at most. Maya studied the device on her wrist. There's a setting I haven't tried yet, looks like it might allow temporal communication rather than travel. A quantum resonance protocol, Krell explained. Designed for communication across time streams. But what good would that do us now? If this future exists because of actions taken by your people in my time, then we need to warn my people in the past. Maya began adjusting settings. I need to send a message to myself before all this started. Temporal communication with your past self risks creating paradoxes, Krell warned. According to that future out there, we're already in a paradox. Maya finished the calibrations. Ready? Krell hesitated, then nodded. This alliance may be what the historical records referred to. Together, they activated the resonance protocol, sending a quantum message back through time as Lyra's forces closed in. Light streamed through the tent at the archaeological dig site as Dr. Maya Rivera awoke with a start. The strange dream lingered, aliens, time travel, and a device embedded in the temple wall she was scheduled to excavate today. Except it felt too real to be a dream. Details remained crisp in her mind, the symbols on the device, the physics of temporal displacement, Krell's three-eyed face, Commander Lyra's threats, and a ruined future. When she reached the dig site, everything aligned with her dream, the exact location of the metallic object in the wall, the precise pattern of symbols. Maya knew then that she had received a message from her future self. Instead of extracting the device alone, Maya called an emergency meeting with her entire team. She carefully explained her unusual experience, expecting skepticism but presenting the evidence, her detailed drawings matching the unexcavated artifact exactly. I believe we're about to make first contact, she concluded. And how we handle it will determine our future. That evening, as predicted, a small spacecraft landed near the dig site. Maya and her team, along with hastily assembled government representatives, waited as the craft's door opened and a tall, three-eyed figure emerged. Ambassador Krell of the Axiom Confederation, Maya greeted before he could speak. We've been expecting you. The alien's third eye blinked rapidly in surprise. How do you know my designation? It's complicated, Maya smiled. But I believe we have a mutual problem involving Commander Lyra and her views on temporal technology sharing. What followed was unprecedented in human history, an accelerated diplomatic exchange. Maya's temporal knowledge proved humanity's readiness for advanced concepts, while Krell's faction gained leverage against Lyra's purification front within the Confederation. Within weeks, a formal treaty was established, the Rivera-Krell Temporal Accords, allowing for controlled technological exchange with appropriate safeguards. The device in the temple wall was officially recognized as a legitimate archaeological discovery, creating the stable time loop necessary for Maya's original timeline. 6 months later, Maya stood in a newly constructed temporal research facility, the former temple device now properly housed in a containment field. Krell, now permanent ambassador to Earth, joined her as they monitored the first controlled human temporal observation experiment. "The future we saw may never happen now," Maya noted. "We changed the variables." "Time is resilient," Krell replied. "Some events are fixed points, like our meeting, while others can be reshaped." The historical record called it the Rivera-Krell incident, but perhaps alliance would have been more accurate. "Speaking of alliances," Maya said, "the UN committee has approved your proposal for a joint temporal monitoring station. We'll be working together for the foreseeable future." "A future that now has significantly improved prospects," Krell agreed. His third eye focused on Maya with what she had learned was respect. "Your species adapts quickly. The Confederation Council was particularly impressed with your ethical frameworks for temporal research." As they watched the experiment progress successfully, Maya reflected on how differently things might have unfolded. A chance discovery had led to a partnership across species and across time itself. The knowledge from a future that would now never exist had created a better present, and a promising new timeline for both their civilizations. "Time isn't just a river flowing in one direction," Maya mused. "It's more like an ocean, with currents we're only beginning to understand." "An apt metaphor," Krell said. "And like an ocean, it requires respectful navigation." Maya nodded, watching the temporal monitors display stable readings. The Rivera-Krell incident had become the foundation for a new chapter in human history, one where humanity wouldn't face the stars alone.